So the power of writing and being grateful and writing for the things that we're grateful for will bring more things of the same that we will be grateful for if you believe in the power of manifestation. So in this case, we are very avid writers of as if we have, and we are grateful for many things in our life.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is Joe, Dr. Energy Piazza, and
RaRa is in the house, Kathryn Asaro Myers. Hello.
Welcome back to BU Network Podcast, Conversations Worth Having. On our podcast, you can expect three things. First, the guest moment, usually a highlight from the podcast that leads off the show, which you would have heard already. Two, the BU moment, and three, the final moment.
As promised, we are giving you a special audible on each show. Your job, not really your job, but a fun thing to do, is to find it. You know the game, Where's Waldo? Well, here, we're asking you to listen for the audible. Actually, Dr. Energy, I would like to ask you a question. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready now. Let's go.
All right. I want the real you. I want to know exactly where you're at in mind, in body, in spirit tonight. Can you paint the picture for us?
Absolutely. What colors would we like to use tonight? I like to use all the colors. I do have my favorite. My favorite color is blue. And almost any shade of blue. It's just always spoken to me how some people think of blue as being a little colder color. I think it's very warm and I really enjoy it. So I always have something around me that's blue. And right now I'm looking at a painting, an original painting, oil painting from a former client, a belly dancer. And just the suggestion of the movement of the belly dancer in this painting helps me to stay fluid and moving throughout the day and throughout this podcast. And of course, it's mostly in blue. She's wearing this beautiful blue top, probably silk, with a pair of blue balloon type pants and a beautiful beaded scarf around her hips. So it's just having that near me is really, really excellent. And then the other thing that is running through me today was I had a really great conversation with a client today, and she was actually thanking me for helping her make a change in her life. And just hearing that really filled me with a sense of gratitude that I was actually able to help somebody. And I know I get to help a lot of people, but hearing it back from clients sometimes is just really, really affirming that what I'm doing is helping people and that I'm in the place and serving where I'm supposed to be. So that's where I'm at today.
And where are you right this minute?
Right this minute, I am standing in my studio, speaking with you, speaking to all of our listeners, and looking at, of course, my Gumby and Pokey. Again, got to have fun with that as well. And
of course.
Being able to see out the window, a beautiful tree outside my window. I've now also added a plant to some greenery in my office as well. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, thank you for sharing. Now, I was wondering there for a minute. This is a G-rated show. You started to describe this belly dancer, and I'm thinking, do I have to make an audible here to interrupt you? But that's great.
No.
You're hilarious. Looking at a belly dancer, I'm looking at plants. Something's wrong over here.
Whatever helps us, get in that space of being gratitude, of being surrounded by, for some of us, being surrounded by beauty is very important.
I love that.
Some of those stuff that I have.
I love that. I admire that. I'm going to change my focus soon. I'm looking at an African mask. I'm changing that. I love it. So let me tell you where I am. And I'd love to hear that. Okay. Yes. So I'm in my bridge room And instead of looking out the window, which I always do, it's dark. I can't really see. I mean, I do see the lights on the garden, which is beautiful. And I look at my plants. But tonight I decided to look into these beautiful masks that we have. And they're also these statues. They're on the floor and on the wall. And two are made of ivory, which are amazing. And in front of them, I have 2 boxes of crystals, actually. And they're really amazing, different crystals that I chose. And so I have this, it's a corner. And in this corner, I have this strong energy. Feels really good. And I used to have a wall of masks. I really don't know where those masks are. They're probably...
Well, you've moved so many times now.
Yes, exactly. I know. I sometimes I give things away and they're beautiful and I love them and I give them to... So I did keep this one. So maybe I'll start I guess, collecting them. There's this little piece of what looks like ivory inside this mask. I'll show you next time you come. It's a really great one. So I'm in my bridge room and I am in my post Pilates uniform tonight. So I'm back to sportive. It's amazing. This was a killer class. So mind, body, and spirit. I'm hurting tonight, but that's good. That's good.
Got pushing the comfort zone a little bit.
Yes, it's a good hurt. And I was really excited about it and still am. I don't know tomorrow if I'll be excited about it. When they said, see you tomorrow, I said, oh, no, sorry, I can't see you tomorrow. But I would have gone every day. I would go every day, but tomorrow I actually cannot go to class. I'll have to do my own exercise on my own. So I'm in my sportive motif, looking at my masks and ivory carvings. And at the same time, I too am standing, which is important for me to share. This BU moment, I'm standing because the energy flows better.
Right.
It's easier for me to speak, to project. And being me, I like to make sure that I'm heard. And I feel that when I'm standing, I can be in touch more with how I'm feeling. And I can project my feeling, my emotion, our emotion tonight. We're talking about gratitude.
Right.
I can do that more clearly. And I could be read and felt and received. And at the same time, once I'm received, then obviously that comes back. So imagine if I were talking this. So I want to make sure that I'm heard and that the energy is right there. And I'm in a great high energy and really excited about this show tonight for so many reasons. And the reason is the subject matter is amazing. And our guest, there's a special connection that the three of us have. Well, not only Laurie and I, the three of us shared something that is a moment in our lives that we will not forget. And we are so grateful that you're there, that you were there and you still are.
In the front row.
That front row, we'll never forget that moment, boy. I remember when you sat in that chair and I remember everything about it. So this is a special subject and a special show tonight, and I'm grateful for that. So I'm excited. And the last part I didn't mention yet, and you'll hear about it again later in the show. Because I'll talk about it. That's funny. I have a crystal, a rose quartz crystal that is engraved with the word gratitude on it.
Right. And we have to listen for the rest of the story on that one.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
You're welcome. Let me introduce our guest this evening. Our guest is not only a friend, a partner, a chosen sister, family member for me, and for Dr. Energy, many of what I just spoke about. But our guest is a certified gratitude specialist. Now, you didn't know I was going to say that, right? What our guest is and does and embodies is gratitude on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour, second-by-second moment of her life. I would like to introduce Laurie Delk, the Gratitude Girl. Welcome, Laurie.
Yes,
hey,
welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the call.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us about gratitude, which is so natural for you. I am sure you don't even need to think about it. The next words out of your mouth are going to be something about what you're grateful for. So let me ask you a couple of questions. If you were to pick something right off the top of your head, what would you say you're really grateful for today?
Really grateful for today, I will say life.
Mm.
So, so I was just invited to speak up in Massachusetts in January at a CopsWives event, and it will be actually a police event, law enforcement event. And so that's in honor of my husband who's passed away. And so, and I will also be talking about grief there. And so, so today I am definitely grateful for life.
That's
Me
awesome.
still being here, all my friends and family and loved ones still being here, and all the people that I will meet in the future.
Well, let me thank you for sharing. Let me ask you another question. Are there ever times during the course of the day or the week where you have to make it a real stretch or a reach to find gratitude, that you're thinking to yourself, I don't know how I'm going to find that in this subject or in this day or in this scenario? And if it is difficult, how do you get to it?
Yeah, so, I mean, we all have things and moments in our lives, right? We all go through stuff, no matter what race we are, no matter what financial status we are, no matter what anything, we all go through stuff. And so, sometimes, it can be troublesome to find, grasping at straws to find that gratitude.
Right.
But I can say that I have literally practiced it so much. I mean, literally my whole life I have. My mom really, pushed that into us growing up. So I was very blessed in that area. And then also with everything I do with my businesses that all are built around gratitude and relationships, it's easy for me to find. And so, but one of the biggest things that I say a lot of times when I'm speaking to others, and also I remind myself in situations is, no matter what, find something to be grateful and thankful for. Even if you can't find anything else in that specific moment, except for that pretty blue vase on the wall that's just pretty. And focus on that, and focus on how pretty blue that is, how pretty of a design it is, whatever. Just get into that focus of that gratitude and that thankfulness of whatever that is that comes to your mind. And that helps to pull you into that moment of changing that mindset and changing your kind of like ambiance about you into being more grateful. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And thank you for that. You are strong thinking, strong in your actions, you're strong in your belief system. And this must be an asset to you when it comes to the moments where you're looking to reach out to gratitude, correct?
It is, yes. I think it is. I know it is, yes. And I have people. I was actually on the phone last night with someone till 2:00 in the morning, helping them get through a situation. And it was just that, walking them through finding things to be grateful and thankful for, and helping pull them out of that spot that they were in emotionally of, quote, being on the edge.
That's such a wonderful gift, Laurie, to be able to give that to somebody, about just being there for them and helping them walk through the moment. I just, with a patient today, and that very topic came up about just taking one step at a time to change your situation. And there's no other way to do it except putting one foot in front of the other, is there?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And and that's it, especially in grief, right. But it can be in so many different areas of life, but where you just feel so overwhelmed of something and you're not having those good thoughts, of just not saying a better day or a better hour, but just a better minute, right. Let's make this 1 minute better. And what could we find to be thankful and grateful for in this 1 minute? Because our minds can be crazy, right? And it can turn us back to thinking on that negative so quick. And so we have to be on purpose, on purpose, putting that positivity and that gratitude into our head and getting us back into that grateful moment that is going to help pull us out into the state of mind where we need to be emotionally.
Right. So it's creating our life with intent from moment to moment, and coming from a place of love from the heart, and really having that compassion not only for others but for ourselves as well. And that just helps us really get into that attitude of gratitude and being able to share that with others.
Yes, exactly.
And we just heard a talk, I'm sure you heard it as well. We just heard a conversation about someone who, and it's not someone, it's Jordan, who just had to find that gratitude in the situation in life. And it doesn't always come to you right away, but it definitely comes to you. It could be the second thought. It may not be the first thought. It could be fear, could be first. Anger, anxiety, we heard that. But gratitude comes there, especially when you're a strong believer. And it shows up like what you just said. You find gratitude in the moment that you're in. So every moment you have another opportunity to bring that closer to you. Instead of waiting till the end of the day. Well, I'll wait till the end of the day and I'll be grateful for what happens. To be grateful every second along the day.
Right. Yes. And I do think it's important to say in certain moments, you can be angry and mad or sad, cry, whatever. A lot of times we have to get those emotions out. The biggest thing is that we don't stay there.
Right.
You pull on your bootstraps and get up and get that gratefulness back in your head as quick as possible. Because the quicker you can turn that around, the better it's going to be, and the better and the more that you're going to attract more things to be grateful for.
The expression that comes to mind is taking the bull by the horns. And
hey, I'm Taurus, careful.
I know. I'm saying that. I'm like, there's a Taurus in the room, there's a Taurus in the house. And going and moving forward and just doing that, like going right there, not hesitating, not taking your time, not wondering, not wallowing. Like, yes, you can have other emotions. That's what this show is about. We're talking about the emotion of gratitude. So, Laurie, let me ask you this. I know you have a series of habits, of daily habits with gratitude. And I know that because of our relationship together, and we can honor that and speak about that. So can you share with our listeners, how do you bring gratitude to your life every day? What are some of your daily habits?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And we do. We talk about that on our Gratitude Girls show as well. But yes, one of my biggest things is every day before I go to sleep, I climb in bed and I have a notebook in my nightstand and I pull that out and I date it for today. And I write down 5 things that happened that day that I am grateful and thankful for. And I'm specific and in detail on those, right? So like everybody's normally grateful for, their car, their house, their job, their children, things like that. But I'm not talking about generic things, that you should be also. But I write down 5 things that happened that day, specifically and in detail, what I'm thankful and grateful for. And so that's probably my biggest thing. I believe that the more you do that, that's the last thing that I do before I drift off to sleep. So I'm setting my sleep tone, which is going to help me sleep better, right? So it's a natural sleep aid by putting myself into a grateful mindset before I drift off to sleep. And
right. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So yeah. And then the next thing I do is when I wake up in the morning, I use a tool called Send Out Cards to send out kindness and happiness to the world. And every morning I get up and I always send at least one, but it's usually more like 5 to 10. But I think about, I just pray and think of who I should help enhance their life, that I want to help enhance their life, and send them something of happiness through the mail. And whoever comes to my mind that I think about, whether, it's God or the Holy Spirit or, the universe or whatever brings to my mind, but whoever's names comes to my mind, I send them a card. And it's just something that is exactly that. It's kindness, happiness, just to keep in touch. I do use the system for business also, but that's just another side note and great thing that I use it for. But these first couple things that I do first thing in the morning, I just spend about 15 minutes and I just send a couple out that are just to enrich that person's life when they open up their mailbox and they get it and they smile.
So it's not like it's a card that you write and put in an envelope, put a stamp on and mail it, right?
Right. It's like that, except for I don't have to do that. I go online and I create it and I click send, and then the company does everything else for me.
That's easy. That's easy. Do you do it on your desktop, your laptop, or your phone?
I can do it from any of the above. In the mornings, I usually do it from my desktop. And then a lot of times throughout the day, if I think of somebody, I might be on my laptop at an event. And then also I usually send out 1 or 2 more before I go to bed. And that's usually off my phone right before I put my phone away for the night.
Right. That's good. So you're using all these different devices in order to get your message out. So you're sharing gratitude not only with yourself about what you're grateful for, but with others.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And it's awesome that you have such a habit of doing that. I'm sure, when you first started, it wasn't quite as automatic as it is today. I mean, you're obviously, like a master card sender or a master sender out of gratitude, and it's become a habit. And you probably almost like, I've got to do it or I don't feel good for the day.
Right. For me, I remember back when I was like 5 years old, my grandmother taught me to write thank you cards. And she told me that if somebody ever did something for me or gave me something, they didn't have to. So I was to thank them properly. So I was taught when I was 5 years old to write thank you cards. And so throughout the years, I carried that into my business. And I started a web and graphics design and branding and marketing company back in 1993 when most people started learning about the internet. And in that company, I would send out thank you cards to all my clients, all my prospective clients, and I would create them on my computer and I would print them out on my printer. And so I was already doing all that steps. And then, then when this system send out cards came along several years later, then I was able to just implement that, and it makes it so much easier now.
Awesome. I wonder what that was.
Sounds like Santa coming down the chimney to me. It's Christmas in September.
Nice. Well,
sounds like bells.
Excellent.
Laurie, you made me feel really happy with that. And because we have a surprise audible every show, that seemed like the right moment to say, that's great, or to give you a sound to make you feel, hopefully that gave you a happy feeling, because when you're talking about what you do for your business, and when you're telling me the type of energy and effort that you put into in 1993, what you were doing for your clients, I don't know how many other people were doing that. When I opened up my health clinic in 1994, I wished that I had the system that we're talking about now. I wished Send Out Cards was available, because I imagine that I would have been able to do what you did, but I didn't have that mindset then to go and go through all of that. I would go to the store and I'd buy a card, but I didn't get to really pump out as many as you did on a regular basis. So you truly have been doing this type of work for your customers and your clients, and I guess perhaps people that were not your clients yet. You were doing this for them that before I'm sure most people did. You must have an amazing relationship with the people that you do business with or that do business with you.
Yes, I believe I do. And I believe that that's it, that I do because of the way that I, quote, work the relationships in my life. I believe the relationships personally and professionally are super important, and,
Right.
you know, recognizing people, being thankful and grateful for them for whatever part they play in your life is a huge part that all of us should be doing.
If we all put in the same amount of effort, if we all could match effort for effort, we see Laurie Delk coming. We should say to ourselves, we're going to get an awful lot from this person, so I better be ready to give back. Because if everybody could match the efforts, imagine how that would feel, especially with a big giver like you. You give so much. You know, do you feel that from the friends and people? Do you feel that people give back to you?
You know, I do a lot in a lot of different ways. I don't do it to get that back, and I don't look for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do believe that everything in life has the boomerang effect.
Mm.
You know, and basically what you send out comes back to you. It might not come back to you in the same form or by the same person or in the same time frame that you think it might happen, but it will come back to you somehow, some way. And if you just have that faith in that, that's the way the universe works.
Right.
You know, that it can only, the universe mirrors back what you send out to it.
Right.
And that's where it's so huge to focus and get that focus back on the gratitude right away, even when you do have one of those moments that you have to, you know, where you're grasping at straws trying to find that gratitude. You know, why it's so important to get back into that moment, because what you put out there into the universe, it comes back to you. It's like a giant mirror. And so you want to attract back, you know, more good, right? And more happiness.
Yes. And Laurie, you mentioned earlier, and some of our audience may not know this, but you talked about Gratitude Girls. So you've made part of your life part of the word gratitude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about how that feels to be, what is it to you, and what does it mean to you, and how does it feel?
Yeah, so, you know, being known as a gratitude girl, one, I have to play the part, right?
Yes.
So
you gotta walk the talk, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? And so people know me as that, so I have to make sure that I, you know, exude that to the world also. But with that also, especially people that do, you know, follow me on social media and things, that have seen different things that have happened in my life, because like I said, we all have things.
Right.
And I've chosen to be very transparent with my life. I have just felt like that's what God wants me to do. And so I've had people that have, you know, that have come to me privately with, their problems and issues and things like that, and just asking for help, because they've seen how I've handled different situations that I've went through. And so, and it's not that I do it for that either, it's kind of like all just kind of happened kind of organically. But I want to show people that, you can look on the bright side. It's like I have 2 best-selling books. My second one is called We All Have Choices. And it's exactly that. We have a choice when we go through something to either look on the dark side or look on the bright side. Right. And
yes,
you can always find something, like I said earlier, to be grateful and thankful for. You can always find some sort of light in any darkness. Sometimes there might not be much much that you can grasp onto, but that's the biggest thing, is you grasp onto that little bit that you can, because the more you do, the more you're going to find and feel more, and then that more you're going to attract to you even more so.
Right. It's very inspiring. You're being of service to humanity just by being you and being an example. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that we can all be of service is just by being ourselves, and people seeing the example and then think, oh, I could do that too. Or there's somebody that I could lean on for a little bit, and then how can I pass that on to somebody else? So I congratulate you for being that transparent and being such a wonderful example.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's what we try to do a lot on our Gratitude Girls show too, is a lot of times we always have a special guest, and a lot of times that guest talks about some sort of tragedy that they may have went through, and right, how they pull and find gratitude from that. And the same thing, they share it with the world. That way, other people that might be going through that, or may have went through it in the past, and maybe have not had the opportunities in their life to learn how to focus on gratitude to help pull themselves out of that place that they might be in. Mm-hmm. They might watch our show and, be helped by that, and be able to figure out how, well, if that person went through that and got through it, and look at them today, I can do it too. Right. And that's it. If we can help everybody to be in a more happy and grateful state, then why wouldn't we, right?
It's a great point, Laurie, that you make, because when people talk about their story on Gratitude Girls, it would sometimes come from a moment of despair, and how that gratitude changed their life, and how they started companies. And when an audience can relate to a subject, it's relatable, and they can see themselves, and that could be them or someone that they know. It becomes something that remains in their subconscious, and we're pretty much planting seeds of gratitude with people when others get to share their story. We get to share our stories. You're sharing your story tonight, and that's a seed. Someone will listen to you and say, oh, I want to do that, or I do that. I'm going to do that like Laurie Delk. I'm going to write something. I'm going to write 5 things or 10 things. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to try that card thing. And what is that? And how do I have those habits? Some people, they get up and they go to sleep, and they maybe roll into bed and maybe roll out. They don't realize that if they just took a deep breath and stopped for a second, they could actually be grateful for the fact that they're putting their feet on the floor. That might be a really awesome moment. So when you talk about the stories and how people get to share their gratitude stories, wherever it comes from, however those stories emerge, it puts a seed and it connects with someone, and then that connection, the ripple effect, it just goes on and it lives on, and it's really a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely. And, I thought of something when you were just talking too. I do a lot of times, like throughout the day, in the middle of the day, I'm a huge time blocker and schedule everything on my calendar. And so I'm scheduled like every 15 minutes from 7 in the morning till usually 10 at night. And that's my personal and business. So it's not like I'm doing all that business, but I do love what I do. So I'm blessed by that. But anyway, I schedule in 15-minute pockets of time throughout my day. And where a lot of times I will go and just, I work a lot from home. So I will go into my bedroom and lay on the bed and focus on being grateful for life and focus on my breathing. And I will, breathe in deep through your nose and then out like paw through your mouth and just pulling in that oxygen into my, mind, body, and soul, and being grateful for life. And it helps you, especially if you do have a super busy day or stressful or hectic, or like with what I do with coaching a lot of clients, I'm, taking in a lot of other people's energy in my sessions. And so I have to, kind of release that too. And so it helps me to regroup back in the moment. And so I think that's really huge, and the gratitude part too. And so I do that usually a couple times throughout the day, each day.
That's amazing. It's so important to take those moments during the day to recharge like that, even if, like you say, if it's only 15 minutes or even just 5 minutes here and there. It just puts a nice little pause in the day and allows you to refocus on your own energy for a moment, and then you can step back into what you need to do.
Yes, it's a great point, because Laurie, if I'm your client and I get to speak to you at 7 in the morning, I want to know that when I'm speaking to you at 8 o'clock at night, that I'm getting the best version of you. And by you explaining this, your clients know that you take time for you so that you can be you and be the best you possibly can, because you do regroup and recharge. And that's important, because sometimes people don't. They're like, oh, I'm too tired, or oh, I didn't have my coffee, or oh, I didn't do this. But you're making sure, it sounds like, and I know this for a fact, so it sounds like, and it is, making sure that you can function at these high levels, and you're grateful, and you express your gratitude back to the universe and to yourself and by yourself in between your busy day, so that you can continue to do that, and then end your day by writing out the gratitude. So that comes out of your mind, comes right through your body. You write that, it goes out into a book. I have a question about these books. What do you do with them?
No, you're not talking about reading them. You're talking about something else. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So far I have just saved them. I have, I don't know, at least 100 of them. Each time I think about throwing them away, because what am I saving them for? Because I never go back normally and look at them. But for people that, that maybe fall off the bandwagon of writing in their gratitude journal, they will also get back into a lot of times states of, sadness or ungratefulness or whatever. And when you have those moments, that's another huge thing you can do, is you can go back and read in your book and see where, what all you have to be grateful and thankful for. 6.5 years ago, when I got the call that my husband was killed in a tragic car wreck, I remember crying in my bed sheets and, God, woe is me, and, falling into that bad moment of, my life sucks, and what am I going to do now? How am I going to raise these children, and having all those moments, right? Because the same thing, like I said, we all have moments like that.
Right.
And I remember grabbing one of my books, and, I was praying to God, why would you do this to me? Just all those different things that, you know, in those moments, you know, all that positivity that even, you know, me being raised in a good, positive environment, you know, kind of goes out the window during some major moments like that.
Sure.
And I remember, you know, going back through one of my books, and it was just one that I still had in my nightstand, that wasn't filled up yet. But I remember going back and reading through some of them, you know, of just journal entries after journal entries. And it just helps to recenter you and get you back into that gratefulness and that positivity moment. And it might not, you know, depending on what that thing was, like with that situation, it wasn't like something that was just, it was fixed instantly, right? But it still helps you to get back into that state of being that you need to get back into. Now, if it's something that's, you know, because we all have all different kinds of things, right? And so, like, I remember one day I got frustrated because our pool out back and the cover, when I was trying to take it off the pool, fell into the pool. So all the junk on top fell into the pool. Well, that was one of those irritating moments, but it wasn't anything like, you know, some of my other moments that I've gotten, right? And so there's all different levels, just kind of like when you go to the hospital and they say, what is your pain level, 1 through 10, right? There's all different levels of, you know, ungratefulness or tragedy or, you know, things that happen in life, right? And so, you know, but anyway, no matter what level it's at, if you find things to turn around and just shove that positivity and that gratefulness into your head, it's just going to help you so much quicker to get back into those moments that are going to help you and get your, you know, your kind of like your ambiance about you in a right frame of mind and thinking better and clearly. And same thing with that breathing, you know, that helps in so many different areas. You know, women helps through childbirth, you know, but
I don't know about that, but yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yes.
But in any other kind of pain, guys in the Army, you know, okay, you could use it for that. But, you know, but it doesn't matter what you go through in life, even just a stressful moment, an emotional stressful moment, you know, taking a moment to do that deep breathing and, you know, focusing on being grateful for life, grateful for breathing in this oxygen and letting it fill your lungs and your body and your mind and your soul, and then breathing it back out. You know, it just so much helps to recenter you and just brings that state of mind that's gonna, you know, attract more gratefulness and thankfulness in your life.
Laurie, you said so many great points, and there's one I'd like to speak to that I believe I'd like to highlight. You talked about rereading a journal, one of your journals, one of our own journals. Imagine when we're writing, if we write in a point form, and then we're having a day where we go back to that journal and we're looking for inspiration. Imagine had we written out, like you originally said, you said write in detail. So if we were to write in detail how grateful we were for the sun that day, for the garden, for how grateful we were to take a walk with the dog or hold our child's hand, and we detailed that, when there was a moment, a low moment, a moment of, maybe it's not low, maybe it's just a dull moment, and we go to that gratitude journal and we read in detail, it could really bring us in. It's very powerful by writing the detail. I believe that that's a really big point about bothering to write at all, and writing in detail is the point. What is your thoughts on that?
Right. Yes, definitely. Because, well, also, you know, 20 years from now, when you go back and read one of those books, or your grandkids find your book when they're having a bad moment, and they, maybe when you're gone, or maybe, you know, right after your funeral, and your grandkids find your books and they read through them, how awesome is that going to make them feel by reading that? And you wrote it specific and in detail, so to where they can feel that they're in that place.
Right.
Or if you're going back and rereading it 20 years from now, you know, or maybe even you're 95 years old and you've got Alzheimer's, and maybe one of your kids or grandkids are reading your old books to you.
Yes, right,
you know?
right.
And they say that like Alzheimer's patients, you know, that those memories being shown or read to people, you know, helps them to not have those Alzheimer's symptoms.
Right. Helps to alleviate them, yeah.
Yes. And so, you know, so there's so many aspects and things where if you just said, I'm grateful for my house, what is that 20 years from now?
Right.
You know, I mean, grateful that you had a house to live in, yeah, but you know, it's not specific and in detail. When you write specific and in detail, I think that it just exemplifies those details and of those moments, right? And makes it easier for you to remember, as well as for others that might read it that might not have been there to feel like they're in the story, right? So any like really good book that tells a story, it gives specifics and in details, right, of that story, so that way the reader can feel like they're a part of it.
Right. It sparks our emotions, right? We can feel we're in the story, we're in that moment with the person.
And the power of manifestation. I can tell a short, brief story. When David and I were looking to buy one of our homes, and we saw maybe 40 houses, and nothing really came to us. And I said, okay, let's treat this differently. Let's approach this. Write down exactly what you want to see. Write down when you're in the house, what you want to see when you're outside the house. Not just what you see when you look at it. Write all these things down. And it was September 28th, 2013. I have the book. And David wrote everything that he wanted in a home. And I did the same thing. When we walked into our home in St. Catharines, before we had bought it, it took us about 30 seconds to know we were going to buy it. Because it was everything David wrote. Everything. So the power of writing and being grateful and writing for the things that we're grateful for will bring more things of the same that we will be grateful for if you believe in the power of manifestation. So in this case, we are very avid writers of as if we have, and we are grateful for many things in our life. And when we take that writing, because I wanted to ask you about your books, Laurie, when we take that as a writing exercise to have our mind and to have our bodies and to have our brain and to have all the things that we want connected and we want to put it out there, we go and we write it. So speaking about being an excellent writer, you mentioned that you have best-selling books. Can you tell us a little bit about those books? Because our audience does not know that at this moment.
Yes. So my first best-selling book is a business book. It's called Keep Those Clients. And it just talks about different ways for you to keep in touch with your clients. So I go into all the different aspects of keeping in touch, you know, texting, talking on the phone, coffees, lunches, dinners, emails, your blog, your website, your newsletters, social media, and the tangible touch, greeting cards and gifts. And so I go into different ways and different ideas of all those different touches of how you can touch your clients, customers, as well as friends and family to build relationships in your life. Because if you example, an insurance agent, if you work really hard to get your clients, you want to do things to keep them, right?
Yes.
So what's that saying? It's easier to keep clients than to get new ones?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Especially if you pay attention to your existing clients.
Right. Yes. And if you pay attention to them, they will give you endless referrals without you even asking for them.
Don't we all want that in our business?
Right, exactly, right? Everybody wants referrals, and a lot of sales books and trainings teach you to ask for the referrals. But yes, so a lot of sales trainings books, they talk about, telling you to ask for referrals, and
right.
But I teach and train just deserve them. If you're doing the things to keep in touch and build the relationships with your customers and clients, as well as doing a good business, being
right.
honest and ethical and, giving 100%, and all those things, then people are going to give you referrals no matter what. Right. You don't have to ask for them.
Right. Be worthy of being referred.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I get referrals literally every day. I get a referral from someone. I own 5 companies and 2 nonprofits I own, and then one I'm a co-founder in. And I get referrals every single day in some sort of aspect for one of my companies. And,
right.
And I have thousands of testimonials on my personal website, my lauriedelk.me, as well as my business website. I have thousands of testimonials. And a lot of times I will have prospective clients find those, and they will ask me, how do you get all those? How do you give them? And I don't ask. People
right.
give them to me, because they're grateful for me, which I'm grateful for.
Sets up a nice circle, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not like saying that, it sounds like I'm being conceited, but I'm honestly not, it's just, but I work hard, and I try to give 100% in my business, if not more, and try to be honest and ethical and do things the right way and keep in touch. And so when you do that, it's a nice circle. What comes around goes around, same thing. And like what we were talking about before, I mean, it works in your emotional state. It works in your business. It works in your personal life. It works in, relationships, personally and professionally. And then my second book, it is also a bestseller, and it is called We All Have Choices. And that is more of a personal development, motivational type book. It's super good for somebody who's going through any type of grief or hard times in their life. In that book, I'm very transparent with a lot of different things that have happened in my life and the choices I made going through them. And, and that's just because we all have choices, right? And that's right. One thing that I raised my kids with all the time is you have a choice in everything that happens in your life. And depending on that choice, there's going to be a consequence. It could be a good consequence or a bad consequence, but it's going to be a consequence depending on the choice that you make. And that happens as adults, right? That happens in our business life. That happens in our professional life, our personal life. And so depending on those choices will depend on what's going to happen to you or your business next. So yeah, and maybe how you get through different things too.
Right.
Well, Laurie, let me ask you this. You wrote one book, you wrote 2 books. Are you stopping there?
I am not.
Why would you?
Yes, I've been featured in one other book, and another book is at the publishers now that I've been featured in. I just wrote that chapter a couple weeks ago. And one came out last year that I was featured in, the Power of the Human Connection. And then the one that's coming out is on relationship marketing. And then, we are writing another book with my Gratitude Girls partner on gratitude. And yes, and I do have some other ones that I'm not going to talk about yet, but I do have kind of dwelling. So
we'll have to have you back on when you come out with those other ones that you're not talking about yet.
Yes, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Now, Laurie, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for explaining how gratitude is part of your life, and for being so transparent and letting us in on your life and your business, your family, and how much everything means to you. It's very apparent that you're passionate, and it's very apparent that you're passionate and engaged, and we really can feel it. I know you can feel it, Dr.
Yeah.
Energy, because I can feel it. And you definitely have a specific level of energy. And when I say that, it's not everyone that we can feel that from, but we feel it from you. And I'm very grateful that you brought that to our podcast, to BU Podcast, because there is no better gift than to have a high vibration of energy.
Yes.
And you are definitely doing that for us. I would end our audience, and I would like to ask you a question. If you could give our audience a message about gratitude. I know you've said many things, but if you could wrap it up in a message, in a package, what would you say to them today?
I would say that just always remember that. Always try to remember that no matter what, anything that life throws your way, you can always find something to be grateful for, and just focus on taking a moment and finding that one thing in that moment that you can be grateful for, and find that and focus on that no matter what you're going through. And that will help you to start working on that way of lifting yourself back up.
How very well said.
Wonderful.
Laurie, thank you. Thank you for being my Gratitude Girls partner. Thank you for being a guest on BU Podcast. Thank you for being our friend. Your advice, your perspective, and your stories are really awesome. I am going to listen and re-listen to this podcast again and again and again because I can.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored and blessed that you asked me to be on your show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The pleasure is all mine. We are all equally as blessed to be in each other's lives. Thank you so very much for being here with us.
And just before we go and sign off for the evening, I'd like to ask you, Kathryn, how you would sum up what was the discussion tonight and tie a little bow around the package of gratitude for tonight. Because
thank you.
Just before you answer, because I remember being present, Gratitude Girls came into being, was born, and so to see and hear the two of you together has been truly a great experience for me this evening. So I'd like to hear how you would wrap up, tie back bow on this package tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that exact moment back into our life, because it really is amazing to do that. You were there. You were sitting right there. Remember, you were in the front row. Yes, you were in the front row. It feels amazing. It feels wonderful to have such a level of gratitude. I would wrap up tonight's conversation with, this is like sitting down and praying. Now, I don't know if that's going to come out right or how it's going to come across, but here's what it feels like. It feels like the reinforcement of a deep belief system, how grateful I am that I get to live this life with the people around me. And to be on this show with Laurie and you being there the moment that we were born is something that no one else can share with us. We take this with us, and it's powerful.
Yes.
And it's a prayer for me. Thank you so much for asking.
No problem.
Let me ask you, how is this show for you in a final moment?
Wow. One of the biggest things for me is really paying attention to those little moments throughout the day that we can be grateful for, because really they're not little moments. They're all just moments, but they all have something in them. Laurie mentioned about finding that little bit of spark or light in the darkness. There's always something there that we can be grateful for. And when we start to become attuned to it and practice observing it or being aware of it, it becomes, it puts a feeling in us that we want more of it. And so we start to develop that habit, the attitude of gratitude even more. So that's the big takeaway for me tonight, is to become more aware of those moments and to really strengthen and develop that habit of the attitude of gratitude even more. So I want to thank you both for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We are definitely going to be more grateful because we've raised it, right? We've raised up the subject. We've become more aware, and it's right there. This show will bring that subject into each person's life on one level or another. But the fact that we're getting to discuss this for this evening's show, it cements it. It belongs there. It just feels really good. I'm holding a rock. No, it's not a rock. I'm so sorry. It's a rose quartz. What am I saying? Yeah, I'm holding a boulder right now, and that boulder is engraved, and it's engraved with the word gratitude. I'm holding a rose quartz crystal that actually Barbara had given us when we were at one of our presentations in Newmarket at the Spanish restaurant, and Barbara walked up and gave each one of us this beautiful pink rose quartz, and it's engraved gratitude on it. So I've been looking at this throughout the whole show, and I want to make a special thank you to Barbara for giving me that, because it definitely, we all have one. You have one as well, Joe, right? So yeah, well, I'm looking at it right now, so I'll send you a picture of that. Laurie, thank you again for being here with us, and we are thrilled that we can continue with our gratitude and each other's friendships.
Thank you so much.
You are most welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us again for a conversation worth having on our BU Network podcast. For show notes and links, go to www.b-u.network/podcast. You can connect with us via our website, also at www.b-u.network. And if you want to meet with us face-to-face and stay more connected with us, sign up to receive information and updates. You'll also receive a free video training. Check us out at www.b-u.network/pro. Talk to you soon on the next show.
Ciao.
Ciao, babies.